Welcome to the 2020 Greensteading Summit, presented by the Green Dream Project. This is a special series of videos featuring permaculturists, homesteaders, farmers, gardeners, and people dedicated to sustainable living. We thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome to the 2020 Greensteading Conference. We're here with Brian and Pam of the MidlifePrices. Welcome, you guys. I'm glad you could be here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So you guys made the move to live toward the middle of the desert.
Yes.
Kind of strange. What did you, before we get to what you're doing here, what did you do in the before times? What did you do in your previous life?
That's good.
I was raised in the country, like little towns all over Texas. When we lived in Chandler, we lived in like sardines, so I just wanted to get out of the city into the country. That might have been it initially. That was the big thing.
Yeah, I'd say this life is more getting back to closer to what Pam is used to, I suppose, growing up, whereas I did not grow up that way. It was a bigger change for me than it was for her, really. Yeah. And as far as, just before this, I had the regular, 9 to 5. I was an engineer and all that. It started out as, I'm sure the same way a lot of people feel is, why do I really do this? Why am I working for the man, making money for somebody else, killing myself, whatever.
Oh yeah, because you hated your job.
And in most cases, everybody feels that way at some point, and it's almost sort of a pipe dream to think, well, I could get out of the rat race or whatever. But
yes.
It just, over time, if you dug a little deeper and you find like-minded people, we come across, Derek, our neighbor over there, handyman, and Hannah. What started out as just a pipe dream, when little signals gave us the hint that it was truly possible, then we just started to dig a little deeper, and it just snowballed from there. But again, for her, it was almost getting back to sort of what she's used to. For me, it was a totally different world.
Also, with the composting and stuff, we have a hard time doing that in the city, so you could do a lot more to help the planet out here than you could in the city.
I was a software engineer for the majority of my career, and then I sort of, even before taking this leap, I took another leap. I changed careers essentially on my last job. For the last 2 years before we came here, I went into a totally different industry, and that was another attempt to just kind of change my course. And it didn't really take either, unfortunately. So, but that was in a sales type position. I just couldn't find anything that really inspired me. I was tired of working for other people. It's hard to just spend 8 hours a day even at work. It became more like 10, 12. And when I'm a pretty easygoing person outside of work, and I was always able in my career most of my life to separate work from home. I could come home and be kind of carefree and everything like we are. And at the end, it got so stressful that it was affecting, I wasn't the same person at home anymore. It was starting to affect me. So that's what really drove us. I mean, we had very little time together. The time we had together wasn't all that quality. And we just got tired of it.
So even though you had a pretty good job, you probably could have led that normal, expected American lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, we definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, he made good money back then.
Yeah.
You just didn't have that fulfillment.
Yeah.
You were looking for something more.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it to me. No amount of money was worth.
We had the stuff. We had the toys. A decent income, and it's true that it just doesn't. I mean, money's nice. We can all use a little money, but yeah, it truly did not buy happiness. And it's one thing I've actually, since then, I've changed kind of my philosophy, and even to our kids, my advice to our kids, which 10 years ago would never have been my advice. My advice would have been, get out there, get your education, get that money, right? Get a job that makes a bunch of money or whatever. And now I kind of approach it very differently. I tell the kids, money's nice, but it won't satisfy you. So find that thing that's going to make you happy. So we talked about it for a long time, and then we finally pulled the trigger and haven't looked back.
So this is the only place where the rodents can't eat our recliner.
It's our safest place, that's
Look,
sure.
It's like a little baby washing machine. But you don't realize how simple a washer really is until you have one like this. It's like all it does is put your clothes in the water, agitate it back and forth, then spin the water out. I think that's something like laundry, where you just take that for granted.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just on the phone, I think it was yesterday, with my mother. And she went on and on about problems she's having with a washing machine. And it just made me think, you know, I think we overcomplicate things in life sometimes a lot more than we need to. The whole time she was talking about all her problems with her washing machine, all I could think was, boy, washing machine can be so simple.
Yeah, it is really simple.
So
man, what a crazy lifestyle change. I mean, you could
Scary.
have had that, you know, technical American dream.
Yeah.
But you gave it all up. You gave it all up to live
yes,
in an RV in the
scary, very scary.
What did you do how did you prepare for that? How did you prepare physically or mindset?
Looking back, we probably didn't do enough, but
Right.
Pam grew up, I won't say this way, but Pam grew up much more
No frills.
rural than I did. Yeah.
No frills
So again,
lifestyle.
for Pam, it wasn't that much of a stretch. For me, my whole life had been the normal kind of trajectory, go to school, make the money, you know, get the house, all that stuff. So it was a big change for me. But even me, and especially her, we were both kind of simple people, although we did, as things allowed during our life, you know, like I said, we had our fun, we bought toys and things like that. But at heart, we've always been fairly simple people. And I think what triggered it is when the kids left the house, we ended up with a lot of empty space, and we didn't have a desire to fill that space or keep living that same life. We just wanted to be simple. So
Well, I didn't really plan to stay in an RV for 2 or 3 years, but I was told a year,
like I said,
and I agreed to that.
looking back, we could have prepared more. But again,
But it's fine.
It really, in some ways, it was a huge leap and it was a huge change. But in other ways, we at heart are fairly simple people. We live frugally for the most part. So it wasn't that much of a change in some aspects.
I don't know if I really prepared. All I thought of was, wow, I'm gonna get to be with Brian every day.
Well,
I'll be willing to put up with anything.
She definitely wanted more time, yes.
And I mean that is nice, but and it's helped a lot. But as far as preparing, I think that we knew what we were getting into, and I knew that we would have to make sacrifices, but ultimately in the long run it would be worth the payoff and worth the sacrifice.
I guess a good way to say it, like I said, in some respects it was a huge change, in other respects not. The way it was a huge change is really more of maybe the perception of the outside world, right? Just that what we were doing was so different from everybody else. But at our core, that's kind of what we were like anyway. We're a little more like this, just kind of keeping it simple. I'm a very routine-oriented person, so once I develop a routine, I can kind of be happy with very simple means. So,
Me too.
So outwardly, maybe from other people who are living that normal life, maybe that's what makes it feel like it was such a huge change. But maybe the other flip side of it is, at our core, it's not that much of a change from who we really are. It was just hard to break out of that kind of expected lifestyle, right? So that's how I describe it, I suppose.
Now, surely, making this move out here, living this lifestyle, everything went completely according to plan. No issues, right?
Nothing's ever gone
That's a good
wrong.
one. That's a good one.
What kind of problems have you faced?
How long do we have?
Oh my gosh, in 2 years? Wow. Probably the being uncomfortable as far as temperature. Cold, hot, not being a lot of sweat, a lot of bundling up in the wintertime. But I mean, that's not that.
The tin box
That's
living,
not
but
that horrible,
that's not necessarily something going wrong. But when you ask about preparing, I mean, we were campers in the past. We tent camped for a lot of our lives, and we had an RV in the past. But living in an RV, I don't know that you can prepare for it before you live in an RV, as you well know. So that obviously is one of the difficulties. I don't know that it's necessarily something that's gone wrong, but it's a tough way to live, really, for an extended period of time. It's
Also,
tough.
we knew we would be dealing with whatever animals and critters that were already here, but I don't like to even kill a bug, so having to deal with rodents and pests naturally. But my skidding in the trailer, I mean, there's really no way around that, and I don't really like that because they were here first, but we have to coexist.
So a couple things that have gone wrong, which we've documented in the past. We were lucky enough we had water on our property. We have a well share, but our water does travel a little bit of a ways to us. So we have had multiple instances where we've lost our water, either because of storms, the way the piping is run. Storms have caused us issues with our water. So losing water out of nowhere is a problem, of course.
Yeah.
One of the
That's not
first
fun.
times after we got out here, we timed it, I guess, fairly well. It wasn't on purpose or anything, but we came out here in like March, I believe. So the weather was pretty nice, actually. But that first summer, one of the first times, if not the first time that we actually tried to turn our rooftop air conditioner on, no worky. So there's everyday little things, but the things that you take for granted in your normal life that are provided by a city or whatever, power,
Comfort.
water.
Everyone wants comfort.
When those things break and it's all on you, that's a biggie. That's something that takes some getting used to. So those are a couple of things. We've had the water problems. We've had the air conditioning problems, which in a place like this, you don't want to live with an air conditioning problem. So
And probably one of the major things that people would have a problem with would be living in a tiny little space together. But I mean, I always liked the outdoors, and that was one of the draws of being out here. So if we didn't get along, or which we've had a few issues,
we've never not gotten along.
but you just go take a walk and you get over it.
That's one of the parts, like I said, the space thing, as far as preparing, that's one of the things that I think just fits us sort of naturally. We don't need a ton of space.
Right.
For whatever reason, well, just because of how you're programmed, I always thought I'd want a bigger house, big nicer house, and the reality was we just didn't need it. And once we accepted that and didn't mind that was going the opposite way of what normal people think, it fits us actually. So that hasn't been that hard for us really.
And I wanted to have a big garden, and turns out that that's not as easy as you would think.
That's been a tough one.
Because everything that I plant, something wants to eat it. You pretty much have to build a fortress around your garden, or it's going to get eaten, as you probably know.
I don't know if this has happened to you, but once you start to tackle some of the things that are unique to this kind of a lifestyle, you have to deal with your water issues or your power issues or your air conditioning or whatever. I think what you forget about maybe is that we still have all those issues that everybody else in their normal lives has. The car breaks down, that kind of stuff still happens. So you try and shift your mindset into a different way of thinking, and you deal with those problems that are unique to the way we live. But those other problems that other people have, they still crop up. So vehicles still break down and stuff like that. So you still have to deal with that kind of stuff. It doesn't go away. There are a lot of things maybe we don't have to worry about when it comes to maybe just monthly bills and stuff like that, which is nice. But there's a lot of the problems of normal daily life that everybody has that we still have to deal with. And sometimes you forget about them because you've changed your mindset so much to think homestead, off-grid,
And projects that we want to do, and then the project doesn't go the way you want it to, or it fails completely. And you're trying to film everything and document it and get it out there.
Filming is an extra added layer, of course.
The gophers ate the roots of this, my little agave plants. They were doing really well. The gophers came, ate the roots, and this is what's left. So
Look at them bees.
that's what we're dealing with.
I like that water. So with all that adversity, obviously, what wins have you had? What keeps you going? What's some victories, some small victories that
We
you
should
can
probably
claim?
stop and think about that more, actually.
I definitely feel like I have a purpose in life now. And before, I felt like I was just working at home, cleaning the house, making dinner for Brian, and waiting for him to come home.
That's really another one of the things that led us this way. Pam was a stay-at-home mom for many years with her kids, and then once her kids grew up, or at least got kind of self-sufficient,
I did work some.
she did work a little.
I worked at a gym, and it was really fun. So I think he considered that really not. It wasn't a full-time job.
And it wasn't really a career that you didn't choose a path that you were gonna.
Right.
So.
That wasn't my.
So I think
lifetime
Pam
goal.
was searching for a purpose, and that helped here. She's gotten into. She just mentioned filming. She's gotten into filming more. So that's been, I think, a victory. Is that I think Pam is finding a purpose. There's a couple little things and a couple big things. One, the first thing I built with my own hands, was a big deal. So we've done some little things, but the biggie, of course, is our shed. So being able to build something from scratch was really nice. That's a huge victory. I mentioned the cars and things. Not that you can't do this in normal life, but you feel a little more self-sufficient out here when a car breaks down or whatever. Maybe you don't just run to the mechanic. So we've had some successes with fixing some of our own things that in our normal life we wouldn't have done, we wouldn't have even taken on. So every time you fix something yourself, build something yourself, when people respond to some of your videos, that's a huge thing.
Yes.
People kind of backing up kind of what you're doing and encouraging you. That's a huge victory there that I assume you feel the same way. Every time somebody says thank you or good job or whatever, that's a huge win.
Achieve a small or a big goal or a small goal. Like the one goal was to have a YouTube channel and make a little bit of money from that. And when he built the shed, I wanted him to hurry. But he's always the one that like takes his time and go through every little detail, which I think we kind of even each other out on that. But it's done really well on YouTube, and we have made a little bit of money. So
I think for me the biggest victory, you know, it's not one victory, but it's every time it happens. The beauty is, and again, it's one of the main driving forces for us to do this in the first place, is every one of those little victories I mentioned, they're all you doing them for yourself, you know, as opposed to when you work a 9 to 5, even if you do something at work that's maybe a good job or that's seen by, you know, appreciated by others at work, you always feel like you're doing it for somebody else. The beauty of this, and what I wanted to get out of this, and we are getting out of this, is every time you do something and accomplish something, it's for you. It's not, you're not doing it for someone else or for that paycheck. You're doing it for yourself, and it feels a lot different, a lot better to do it for yourself.
Now this is your outdoor bathroom.
It is. That's the model.
Maybe eventually.
That's the model.
Then, like, I'm just like messing around with. I had some leftovers concrete.
Bathroom, shower. That's our model. Yeah, that'll be out here hopefully.
So obviously you're completely happy with living in an RV.
Completely happy.
Surely this is how you want to spend the rest of the days, right?
Why wouldn't we?
What future plans do you have? What do you see yourself going in the near future, in the far future? What's going to happen out here?
The main goal is for the straw bale house made out of straw. Hopefully the big bad wolf doesn't come and blow it down like his brother.
Yeah.
But yeah, to have a house, then once that gets done, I would like to build things together. Like we have plans for like a cool bar and like an outdoor kitchen and a big pizza oven. And
the possibilities are endless, and that's nice, and that's also kind of scary and overwhelming sometimes. But the immediate goal, as she said, is obviously just 4 solid walls, right? I mean, even with our successes out here, I should have said one of the big successes out here has been our solar. It's been really great for us, and it's been nice to live that way. But as good as it's been, living in a toaster is a tough way to live. So
it's not energy efficient. That's
and we did not plan to live that way for this long. So we need 4 walls around us. So we're really looking forward to that. We want to do some type of earth build. There's a lot of them that are super cool and you get a lot of the same benefits out of. So we've chosen straw bale. That's the way we're going to go.
A nicer kitchen. I can't wait for that. I like to cook, so.
But after that, you know, it's actually hard to say. I mean, there might be a transition in mindset after we have 4 solid walls around us. I just look forward to the possibilities. This will be our main living space. This is kind of the center of our property right here. So this will be kind of where we're going to focus. This will be the house area.
So that's where the house will be?
Yeah. It's kind of, our property's not a square or even a rectangle, you know, it's kind of a triangle. It's a little funky shaped. So, and we do have kind of a wash on one side and another kind of, what's called a ravine on the other side where water flows in both of those. So we have erosion issues that we're trying to deal with. So it's also kind of the safest part of our property. It's kind of right in the middle. So the house itself and maybe the things that support the house or other things, it is all about sustainability for us. And again, I think when we got into this lifestyle, you know, it starts out as kind of a pipe dream, kind of a sort of a, you know, you talk about it with your friends and you laugh that you can change the world or whatever, but the more you get into it, you really feel like you can, right? So it's things like, I mentioned that we're on a well. I don't really want to be on that well, to tell you the truth. We want to catch our own rainwater and collect all that stuff and use that. We've been on solar for a long time. I love that freedom. With all these kind of self-sustaining things, whether it be your own water, your own power, building your own home, you get the dual benefit of freedom, of not having to rely on somebody else or be attached to something else, and you get the lesser footprint, right, of creating that thing or maintaining that thing. So there is the house, but then there's also all the supporting systems and eventually maybe gardening. We've talked about gardening a little bit, but that's a longer term thing for us, I think. But it's all about just having a lesser footprint. I used to think that was kind of silly.
Lesser footprint.
That one person could make a difference,
yes.
but
and freedom, I think, is
Yeah.
the main thing I was
Yeah.
thinking of, because just being able to, not have to go to a regular job every day, get up and do whatever you want.
long term also, I want to kind of live those words that I'm preaching to the kids now. Like I said, I've changed kind of my mindset and my message to my own children. I want to kind of live that. I am retired today, right? But I do want to have a job again someday, but I want that job to be something I enjoy and love, and probably having something to do with this lifestyle that we're trying to live in and create. So longer term goals, I do want to kind of have a job, but that job will be about helping others, teaching others, hopefully encouraging others to live a lifestyle like we've chosen to live. So that's a longer term goal for me.
I like the fact that, say, with like just something simple like having a Berkey, where you're not throwing a plastic bottle every time you want to get a drink. You're throwing a plastic bottle into the garbage and you don't even think of it. When you don't have someone come and take that away every single day, you get to see how much it accumulates.
Whether we're actually saving the world or not is one thing, but it feels a lot better. It sure
I
feels
think
a lot
about
better.
my kids,
Yeah.
and if they
Yeah.
have kids, what kind of earth are you leaving for them?
Well, I think change is going to take place with the collective actions of individuals.
Yes.
Everyone's got to do their part. Everyone's got to do their own thing. Getting down to it, like if there are people kind of like you were kind of on the fence, maybe a little scared to pull that trigger, what thoughts would you give them? What advice would you give them? What kind of words of encouragement, or maybe get out of here, don't do it?
I would say we always thought if it doesn't work out, we can always go back if we want to. We just kind of left it open, and we even had friends to tell us, if something happens and you had to come stay with us for a while you had to go back to a regular life, if we had to do that, then we could.
If anybody's looking for advice, do your best to know what you're getting into. I mean, ultimately, like with many other things, you can't know really until you dive in. But one of the reasons we're on YouTube, hopefully someday making a little bit of money is a nice little side benefit. But really the reason we got onto YouTube was to share that story, and it was to show a perspective. And I think it's showing up more now, but I think when we started looking, I don't know if it was not out there or if we just didn't find it, but what I wanted to provide was that perspective of really someone who was in the regular kind of normal path, rat race kind of thing, 9 to 5, to show that you could, go from the normal income, the normal, way of people living to this. I wanted to show that it could be done, and it isn't as dramatic. Now, it does take a mindset and maybe a personality, so it's not for everyone. I won't claim that it is. So I guess the advice would be know yourself and whether you really have that in you. But the other advice would be don't think that it's impossible, because until that last moment, I think when a switch sort of did flip for us, I was probably that guy, right, who said it was fun to talk about, but the reality was just, it seemed impossible or seemed too far-fetched or too much of a change or whatever. And anyone who knows me would know that, at least a couple of years ago, I'm the farthest person from being in this life, living this way. I was that guy who his whole life was all about get the education, get the job, get the house, get all those things. If you have that in you to want this, I wanted people to know that you don't have to look at it as, well, my whole life has been about this, so that's just a pipe dream and it'll never happen. It absolutely can happen. It's very doable. You just have to want it.
You got to be willing to make sacrifices.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
and think about the bigger goal in the future, and nothing's permanent. So if you're willing to make the sacrifice, you can go for the bigger payoff in the future.
So be realistic, but don't think of it as an impossible thing. Because for a long time, I probably would have thought of it as an impossible thing, but it's not.
Once again, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to check out the other summit videos as well. They'll be available for a limited time on the Green Dream Project YouTube channel. Remember to check out the links in the video description for more information on our speakers and to find out how to get access to all the summit videos to watch anytime.